This new Hunter Stasis build lets you consistently freeze enemies indefinitely, gives you fast and infinite melee abilities, grenade abilities, dodges, health, overshields, infinite ammo, and you never have to reload. Don't worry boss, I'll let you live, but you'll just be frozen forever. Now I'm not kidding when I say this build is insane, because it actually is, and you don't even need to use champion mods because you'll be freezing them permanently in those master nightfalls. Just don't act like you're unstoppable, because no build can really achieve that. But I have to say, this is by far the best build I've ever made out of all my class build videos, and in case you're new here, last season we made over 25 class build videos for the top builds of Destiny 2 Beyond Light, and today we're officially starting a new series of the best builds in Season of the Splicer. This series will run all the way up until the start of Season 15, but now without further delay, let's just roll the intro and get started. Now the intro to this video was kinda longer than I expected, but I also want to point out that a lot of people last season wanted to see me create builds that targeted more endgame master and grandmaster nightfalls, so we'll be doing that a lot more this season, as well as using our usual testing loss sector to showcase the builds without getting completely obliterated by bosses in nightfalls whilst massively underpower. So kicking things off with your loadout, we'll be using a new Stasis Exotic Sidearm, which you can get from the season pass, and this thing is actually no joke. You can literally freeze enemies non-stop one after another, and it's actually pretty funny. But this comes with liquid cooling, where final blows with this weapon enable a charged shot for a short duration, and targets hit by this shot are instantly frozen at the cost of the weapon's entire magazine. But this won't be an issue because we'll never have to reload with the build setup, and if you have the catalyst then that's even better, because when you shatter a frozen target it will refill the weapon's mag from the reserves, which actually makes this weapon so much better. But with this build you don't really need the catalyst, and it's not really needed because we are focused around freezing harder enemies like bosses and champions, to then use our heavy weapon on them and repeat. So you could actually freeze an enemy, swap to your heavy and deal DPS, then hit an enemy with your melee, swap back to the sidearm, kill an ad, refreeze the target, then swap back to your heavy and deal DPS again. And this is good against champions because you really don't need to use champion mods, as the freeze will pretty much do the job for you, and if you can be consistent with it you'll just need a few ads around to make this work more effectively. But moving into the subclass, put on a marksman's dodge for the instant reloading, the cold snap grenade which will freeze targets, along with the touch of winter stasis aspect which will enhance your grenades, and a grim harvest so that we can create stasis shards when defeating frozen combatants, which will happen more often than you think. But not only that, you'll be getting melee energy from those shards as well. But for the aspects you want Whisper of Refraction, where defeating those frozen targets will grant us dodge energy, Whisper of Torment where we get grenade energy when we take damage, Whisper of Hunger where we get increased melee energy on shard pickups, and the most OP thing of all, Whisper of Rhyme, where collecting stasis shards will grant a small amount of overshield. Now take in mind that all this combined is basically just chaining abilities and giving us instant abilities one after another. You're going to freeze enemies almost all the time, so you're going to generate a lot of stasis shards, and this even works with the sidearm as well, so you're just going to destroy everything with this build. Now moving into the armor, for the helmet I went with heavy handed, which will give us half of our melee energy back when using it, consuming one stack of charge of light, and we'll also get pretty much infinite ammo with the secondary perk activated, which will be activated by our hands-on mod, which will also give us bonus super energy on those melee kills. Now just note that you can put these mods in any armor that's arc, so you don't have to put them into the helmet like I did. But for the gauntlets I'm going with the exotic Sealed Ahamkara Grasps, where dealing melee damage reloads your currently equipped weapon, and this is good if you want to infinitely fire off all your heavy ammo, as you'll have 2 melee charges and 1 dodge, which will most likely be ready again by the time you've used them all, along with your ammo for your heavy, so you pretty much never need to reload. Now you can choose something else if you have the sidearm's catalyst, but this was my preferred choice with or without that catalyst, and there are a lot of different build combos you can do with this build, so do let me know what exotic you prefer best with this build so far. For the mods though, I'm using the elemental armaments, so that weapon takedowns with our Stasis Kinetic Sidearm will spawn elemental wells, which also give ability energy, but slot on some champion mods if you're going into those activities. And now with the chest I'm going with elemental charge to become charger light when picking up those wells, and we'll get 2 stacks because it will be a stasis well. I then went with some damage resistant mods, but but you can choose whatever suits you best. Now for the legs though, I went with Firepower to regain some of our grenade energy when using a grenade, and Absolution for reduced ability cooldowns when picking up an orb, which is actually insane if you have the Catalyst, as you'll generate orbs with the sidearm being masterworked. And I know what you're thinking, isn't this a bit overkill with the ability regen? Well, yes and no. With this full setup, you're almost guaranteed to always have an ability up at one given time, so I think it works really well with the build. But finally with the class, I am going with Swift Charge because we are using a sidearm as our main weapon, so we will become Charger Light pretty much all the time and always have those abilities because of it. And lastly, to be annoying, I thought I'd try the new Sundering Blast mod to cause an explosive blast when stunning champions, which we will be doing, as you should be using the Unstoppable sidearm when using this build in Nightfalls. Now for the stats, I would go with max strength as we are primarily focused on melee and constant freezing with the sidearm, but to be honest I don't think it's really needed with the amount of ability regeneration we already have. But guys, that is our build setup right there, and honestly I think this build is pretty crazy and fun to use, especially in PvE. You can try this in PvP, but honestly I'm not a PvP player, so I can't really say if it's worth using in there. But for PvE, you're going to clear ads so quickly, you're going to annoy those champions and bosses with constant freezing, and overall it's just going to be pretty insane. If you are going into harder activities like Master Nightfalls, just play it safe and hold back because you're not invincible with this build, but you will do some serious damage. And you will have those overshield shards, which will help you out a lot, so just remember to pick all those up because that is what makes this build insane. This is probably my favourite and the best stasis build in the game for the Hunter in my opinion, but do give me your thoughts down below. But guys, that is all for this one. Next you should go check out my Season 14 class build playlist, as I'll be adding a lot more videos like this to that playlist in the coming weeks, so stay tuned for that. For now though, do comment your favourite builds below or what you want me to cover next, throw a rating, hit that subscribe and share for more like this, and I'll see you soon for the next one.